Elasticity of demand measures the responsiveness of quantity demanded to the change in price. Now the question is, how we can measure this responsiveness? There are three alternative ways to measure price elasticity of demand. Primarily, elasticity of demand is measured as the ratio between percentage change in quantity demanded for a product to the percentage change in price of the product. We can call it percentage formula. If we denote elasticity of demand by E, then E equals percentage change in quantity demanded for a good divided by percentage change in price of that good. For example, suppose the quantity demanded for a product is increased by 15% due to 10% decrease in its price. In that case, elasticity of demand equals percentage change in quantity demanded, which is 15%, divided by percentage change in price, which is 10%. That is, elasticity of demand will be 1.5. As the relationship between price and quantity demanded for a product is inverse, there appears a negative sign in the result. Elasticity of demand equals minus 1.5. It means if price rises by 1%, quantity demanded falls by 1.5%. We can customize it as per our need. We can say if price rises by 2%, quantity demanded falls by 1.5 into 2 equals 3%. One can say if price rises by 10%, quantity demanded falls by 15%. The other two methods of measuring elasticity of demand are based on this formula. Anyway, I am not going to show you the derivation of the formula. If possible, I shall discuss in another lecture. I shall just show you the formula and tell you when to apply which. Another way of measuring elasticity of demand is point elasticity. In case of point elasticity of demand, we measure elasticity at a certain price of a product. In other words, we measure elasticity at a particular point of demand curve. In figure, the demand curve is downward, as the relationship between price and quantity demanded is negative according to the law of demand. Now, if we want to measure elasticity of demand at point A, or if we want to measure the elasticity of demand at price equals $6, it will be point elasticity of demand. Similarly, measuring elasticity of demand at point B or measuring elasticity of demand at $4 will be point elasticity of demand. To measure point elasticity of demand, we have to differentiate quantity with respect to price and then multiply it by the ratio between price and quantity. Here quantity refers to the demand curve. It will become more clear to us when we shall learn how to apply this formula. Then comes the arc elasticity. When point elasticity of demand measures elasticity at a particular point of the demand curve, arc elasticity of demand measures elasticity for a particular range of demand curve. In other words, when two prices are given, we use arc elasticity formula to measure elasticity of demand. For example, in figure, the elasticity between A and B can be measured using arc elasticity. We can say, if we want to measure elasticity when price falls from $6 to $4, we have to apply arc elasticity formula. To measure arc elasticity, first we have to take the ratio between changes in quantity demanded and price and then multiply it by the ratio between the sum of prices and quantities. That is, arc elasticity of demand equals Q1 minus Q2, that is the difference between quantities, divided by P1 minus P2, that is the difference between prices, multiplied by sum of prices, P1 plus P2, divided by sum of quantities, Q1 plus Q2. In case of taking change in prices and quantities, doesn't matter whether you take Q1 first or Q2 first. But what is important, if you put Q1 first, you have to put P1 first. That is, if you take Q1 minus Q2, you have to take P1 minus P2. And if you take Q2 first, that is Q2 minus Q1, you have to take P2 minus P1. You can take changes in any directions. It has no impact on result. Here I sum up all three methods of measuring elasticity of demand: the percentage formula, the point elasticity formula, and the arc elasticity formula. What is common for them is that there appears a negative sign in result. The reason is the relationship between price and quantity demanded is inverse. That is, if price rises, quantity demanded falls, and if price falls, quantity demanded rises. With this minus sign, we cannot take our decision or we cannot make comment. We have to drop the minus sign taking absolute value. For example, if we get elasticity equals minus 1.2, we can ignore the minus sign by taking absolute value. Just put two vertical bars on both sides of E, that refers to absolute value, and then drop the minus sign. That is, the absolute value of elasticity is 1.2. Similarly, if we get elasticity of demand is minus 0.5, after taking absolute value, the elasticity of demand is 0.5. Now we are in position to make necessary comment or take decision. which we shall discuss in our another lecture.